I stood at the altar in a dress I bought on sale, looking into the eyes of a man I'd known for only 3 months. Everyone said I was making a mistake. My sister hadn't even come to the wedding. But when Thomas took my hand that day, something in his touch told me I was exactly where I needed to be. I just didn't know yet how right I was. Before we continue, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and comment where you are watching from. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. My name is Margaret, and I was 54 years old when I married Thomas Bennett. The ceremony took place in a small chapel with 12 people present. His 2 children sat in the front row. His daughter Emma was 16, quiet and watchful. His son Daniel was 19, home from college for the weekend. They both wore dark clothes that looked expensive once, but had seen too many washes. They smiled when they were supposed to, but their eyes stayed careful. Guarded. I understood that. I was marrying their father, a man who still wore his wedding ring on a chain around his neck because his late wife had been gone only 2 years. Thomas worked as a night janitor at the community college. That's where we met. I taught an evening pottery class there, trying to fill the empty hours after my divorce became final. He would come in after my class ended, pushing his cart, emptying the trash bins while I cleaned clay from under my fingernails. We talked. First about small things. The weather. The broken heater in the art room. Then about bigger things. Loss. Loneliness. The way time moves differently when you're over 50 and suddenly alone. He never told me he had money. He never told me he didn't. I just assumed, looking at his worn jacket and the tired way he moved, that he was exactly what he appeared to be. A good man who was doing his best. That was enough for me. My daughter Rachel called the night before the wedding. She was 32, living in Seattle with her husband and 2 children. Children I barely saw anymore. "Mom, you don't have to do this," she said. Her voice carried that tone. The one that said she knew better. "You don't have to settle." "I'm not settling," I told her. "He's a janitor, Mom. He has 2 kids still at home. Do you know what you're signing up for?" I looked at the small diamond on my finger. Thomas had apologized when he gave it to me. Said it was his grandmother's, the only thing he had to offer. "I know exactly what I'm signing up for," I said quietly. "Love. That's what I'm signing up for." Rachel sighed. "I just don't want you to get hurt again." After my divorce, I'd spent 2 years learning to be alone. Learning that alone wasn't the same as lonely if you filled your days with purpose. But then I met Thomas, and I remembered what it felt like to want to share your morning coffee with someone. To have a hand to hold when the world felt too big. The wedding was simple. The reception was cake and coffee in the church basement. Thomas's best friend, a man named Robert, made a toast that brought tears to my eyes. "Thomas loved once with everything he had," Robert said, his voice thick. "And when he lost her, we all thought that was it. That he'd just fade. But then he met Margaret. And I watched him come back to life." Thomas squeezed my hand under the table. His daughter Emma sat across from us, barely touching her cake. She kept looking at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Like she couldn't figure out why I was there. I couldn't blame her. Her mother had been beautiful. I'd seen the photos in Thomas's apartment. Sarah Bennett had been the kind of woman who lit up a room. Dark hair, bright eyes, a smile that made you want to smile back. I was none of those things. I was ordinary. Gray hair I'd stopped coloring. Lines around my eyes from too many years of squinting at my mistakes. A body that was soft where it used to be firm. But Thomas looked at me like I was everything. We left the reception in Thomas's old truck. It made a rattling sound that worried me, but he just smiled and patted the dashboard like it was a faithful dog. "She'll get us there," he promised. I'd assumed we were going back to his apartment. The small 2-bedroom place where he lived with his kids. I'd been there twice. It was clean but worn. Furniture that had seen better days. A refrigerator covered in Emma's old school photos and Daniel's college acceptance letter. But Thomas drove past the turn for his apartment building. "Where are we going?" I asked. He glanced at me. Something flickered in his eyes. Nervousness, maybe. Or fear. "Home," he said simply. "I'm taking you home." We drove for 20 minutes, leaving the modest part of town where I'd lived my whole adult life. The houses got bigger. The lawns got wider. Trees lined streets that had names like Oakmont and Riverside Terrace. My stomach tightened. Thomas turned onto a long driveway that curved through tall hedges. At the end of it sat a house that made me forget how to breathe. It wasn't a mansion, but it was close. 2 stories of pale stone and dark wood. wide windows that gleamed in the sunset, a garden that even in late autumn looked carefully tended, a 3-car garage with doors that probably cost more than my old car. Thomas stopped the truck, but didn't turn it off right away. His hand stayed on the wheel. "I need to explain," he said quietly. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the house. "When Sarah got sick," he continued, his voice rough, "the medical bills they were bad. Really bad. We had insurance, but it wasn't enough. I sold almost everything we had. The vacation home. The cars. Her jewelry. Everything I could sell, I sold." He finally looked at me. "But I couldn't sell this house. Sarah loved this house. We built it together. Picked out every tile, every light fixture. She designed that garden herself, spent hours out there with the kids when they were small. This house was her dream." His eyes filled, but the tears didn't fall. "So I got a second job. Then a third. I worked every hour I could. The business I owned, I stepped back from it. Let my partner run it while I worked nights, weekends, whatever it took to keep this house. For the kids. So they'd still have the home their mother loved." I reached over and took his hand. It was shaking. "I've been living in that apartment for a year," he whispered. "Renting it cheap so the kids could stay here with my mother-in-law. So they could finish school in the district Sarah wanted them in. So they wouldn't lose everything. But the janitor job was real. I needed the extra income. Still do. The business is doing better now, but I'm still catching up on debt. Still trying to." He closed his eyes. "I never lied to you, Margaret. But I never told you the whole truth either. I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "That you'd think I was just looking for someone to help me play house. To step into Sarah's life. To be her." I looked at this man. This good, tired, honest man. "Take me inside," I said. The inside of the house was beautiful. And frozen in time. Emma and Daniel were waiting in the entryway. Behind them, an older woman with Sarah's eyes stood with her arms crossed. "Grandma Helen insisted on being here," Daniel said, apologetic. "She wanted to. I wanted to meet the woman who thinks she can replace my daughter," Helen finished. Her voice wasn't cruel. Just tired. So tired. Thomas stepped between us. "Helen, please." "It's okay," I said quietly. I looked at Helen. At the grief that sat on her shoulders like a weight she'd carried so long she didn't remember what it felt like to stand up straight. "I can't replace her. I wouldn't try." Helen's eyes narrowed. "Then what are you doing here?" "Living," I said simply. "Just trying to live. Same as you. Same as these kids. Same as Thomas." Something in her face shifted. Just barely. But enough. Emma took a small step forward. "I'll show you around," she said softly. The house was exactly what Thomas had described. Every corner held evidence of Sarah's touch. Family photos on every wall. Her favorite colors in every room. A studio upstairs where she'd painted, her brushes still in jars on the windowsill. Clean but untouched. A shrine. Emma watched me take it all in. "Dad hasn't changed anything," she said. "Grandma won't let him. She says." "Says what, sweetheart?" Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. "She says if we change things, it means we're forgetting Mom. That we didn't love her enough." My heart broke. Right there in that beautiful frozen hallway. "Your grandmother is scared," I told her. "When we lose someone we love, sometimes holding on to their things feels like holding on to them. But Emma, your mother isn't in these walls. She's not in these pictures or these rooms. Then where is she?" I touched Emma's face gently. "She's in you. In the way you move, the way you think, the kindness in your eyes. She's in your brother. In your father's heart. That's where she lives. And nothing and no one can ever take that away." Emma's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. That night, we all sat together in the living room. Helen had made coffee. No one knew quite what to say. Daniel broke the silence. "So what happens now?" "Now," I said carefully, "we figure this out together. All of us." "You're really moving in?" Emma asked. "Here. If that's okay with you both. This is your home. I'm not here to change that." "But Grandma Helen lives here too," Daniel pointed out. "In the guest house out back. It's going to be complicated." I looked at Helen. She was staring into her coffee cup like it held answers. "Helen," I said gently, "I know you don't know me. And I know you love this house because it holds your daughter's memory. I respect that. I respect her. But we can't live in a museum. These kids need to grow. To breathe. To become who they're meant to be." "Sarah wanted," Helen started. "Sarah wanted her children to be happy," I interrupted, my voice soft but firm. "And they can't be happy in a house where they're afraid to touch anything. Where they feel guilty for living." Helen's face crumpled. I just miss her so much. I know. And you should. You're her mother. That grief is yours to carry. But don't make these children carry it too. They're already carrying enough. The silence that followed was heavy, but different, like something was shifting. I woke up in Sarah's bedroom. That first morning, I lay very still in the early light, looking at the ceiling. Thomas was already up. I could hear him downstairs, the quiet sounds of coffee being made. This room was hers. The furniture she'd chosen. The curtains she'd hung. Even the pillow I was sleeping on probably still held some trace of her shampoo, her perfume, her presence. I could feel her everywhere. Some women might have been jealous. Might have demanded changes, new furniture, a fresh start. But I wasn't some women. I was 54 years old. I'd lived enough life to know that love isn't a competition. That a heart can hold more than one person. That honoring someone's past doesn't mean you can't build a future. I got up slowly. My body was stiff. Age did that, made mornings harder than they used to be. In the closet, Sarah's clothes still hung. Not all of them. Thomas had donated most. But a few pieces remained. A blue dress. A winter coat. A silk robe that looked expensive. I touched the robe gently. Then I closed the closet and went to find my new family. Emma was at the kitchen table, staring at a bowl of cereal like it had personally offended her. Thomas stood at the counter, looking lost. "Morning," I said quietly. Emma glanced up. "Morning. Your father told me you like pancakes," I offered. "I could make some, if you want." "Mom made pancakes every Sunday," Emma said. Not mean, just factual. She made them from scratch. With blueberries. I sat down across from her. "I don't know how your mom made them, but I can make them my way. And if they're terrible, we'll order pizza for breakfast." The corner of Emma's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Thomas relaxed slightly. "I made pancakes. They weren't perfect. I burned the first batch. But the second batch turned out okay, and Emma ate 3 of them without saying a word. Progress, I thought. Small, quiet progress. Daniel came down an hour later, hair messy from sleep. He looked at me, then at the kitchen that smelled like vanilla and butter, then at his father. "You okay, Dad?" he asked. Thomas smiled. A real smile. The first one I'd seen since we arrived at the house. "Yeah, son. I think I am." Helen appeared that afternoon. I was outside, looking at Sarah's garden. Even in November, it was beautiful. Someone had been maintaining it. Probably Helen. "She planted that rose bush the day we brought Emma home from the hospital," Helen said behind me. "And that one when Daniel was born." I turned. Helen stood a few feet away, wearing a cardigan that had seen better days. "They're beautiful," I said honestly. She had a gift. With growing things. With making things beautiful. Helen moved closer. With making people feel loved. "I can tell." "Can you?" Helen's voice sharpened. "Can you really? Or are you just saying what you think I want to hear?" I took a breath. "Helen, I'm not going to pretend I knew your daughter. I didn't. But I see her everywhere in this house. In those kids. In the way Thomas's voice changes when he talks about her. She was clearly remarkable. She was everything. To you, yes. To them, yes." I paused. "But to me, she's a memory I never got to make. And I'm okay with that. I'm not here to compete with her ghost." Helen studied me. "Then why are you here?" "Because your son-in-law asked me to marry him. Because those kids deserve to see their father happy again. Because this house, beautiful as it is, has been holding its breath for 2 years. And it's time to let it breathe. You want to change things. I want to live here. Not visit. Not tiptoe around like I'm in a museum. Live." I met her eyes. "But I won't erase her. I promise you that." Helen was quiet for a long moment. Then she pointed to a bare section of the garden. That part was going to be an herb garden. Sarah planned it. Drew it all out. But she got sick before she could plant it. "Do you have the drawings?" Helen looked surprised. "In the guest house." "Why?" "Because if you'll help me, I'd like to plant it. Exactly the way she wanted. As a way of honoring what she started." Helen's eyes filled with tears. She turned away quickly, but not before I saw her face soften. "I'll bring the drawings tomorrow," she said, her voice thick. That night, Thomas found me in the living room. I was looking at a photo on the mantel. Sarah, Thomas, and the kids at the beach. Everyone laughing. Everyone whole. "You're allowed to take that down," Thomas said quietly. "Any of them. If it's too much." "It's not too much," I interrupted. "She was your wife. Their mother. Helen's daughter. She belongs here." Thomas sat beside me. Close. His shoulder touching mine. "I loved her," he said. "I need you to know that. I loved her completely. I know. And I love you. He took my hand. Differently. But just as real. I leaned into him. Tell me about her. Not the sad parts. The good parts. So he did. He told me about the time Sarah decided to learn Italian and spent 6 months speaking broken Italian to everyone she met. About how she sang off-key in the shower every morning. About how she couldn't follow a recipe to save her life, but somehow always made dinner taste amazing. He talked and I listened, and somewhere in that listening I started to understand. Love doesn't diminish. It doesn't divide. It multiplies. 3 weeks after the wedding, my daughter Rachel showed up. I didn't know she was coming. She just appeared at the door one Saturday morning with her suitcase and her judgment. Emma answered the door. I heard her from upstairs. Margaret? There's a woman here. She says she's your daughter. I came down to find Rachel standing in the entryway, staring at the house with wide eyes. Mom, what the hell? Rachel, what are you doing here? You said he was a janitor, she hissed, pulling me aside. You said he was broke. You said you were marrying him because you loved him, not his money. But look at this place. He is a janitor. He works nights at. Mom, Rachel gestured around. This is $1 million house. Easy. Maybe more. Don't tell me he's broke. Thomas appeared from the kitchen. He'd been making lunch. He wore old jeans and a t-shirt with paint stains. He looked exactly like what he was. A regular man. You must be Rachel, he said calmly. Margaret talks about you all the time. Rachel looked him up and down. We need to talk. All of us. We sat in the living room. Daniel and Emma had made themselves scarce, smart kids that they were. Rachel didn't waste time. I want to know what's really going on here. My mother told me you were struggling, that you worked as a janitor to make ends meet. But this house is paid for with 20 years of Sarah's and my life, Thomas said quietly. Is mortgaged to pay medical bills that nearly destroyed us. Is the one thing I couldn't bring myself to sell because it's all my kids have left of their mother. Rachel blinked. But your mother knew I worked as a janitor. That part was true. What she didn't know was that I also own a consulting business that I'd stepped away from to work extra jobs. What she didn't know was that I was living in a cheap apartment so my kids could stay here with their grandmother. What she didn't know was that I was barely holding on. Then why didn't you tell her? Thomas looked at me. Because I wanted her to marry me for the right reasons. Because I'd already lost one wife. I couldn't survive losing another. Especially not to a lie, even if it was a lie of omission. Rachel sat back. She looked confused. Angry. But something else too. Something softer. Mom, did you know any of this? Not until our wedding day, I said honestly. And it didn't change anything. That's insane. Is it? I asked. Rachel, when you married David, did you marry him for his apartment and his student loans? Or did you marry him because he made you laugh and held your hand when you were scared? Rachel's face flushed. That's different. How? She couldn't answer. Thomas stood up. Rachel, I love your mother. I know you don't know me. I know you're worried. If I were you, I'd be worried too. But I promise you, I will spend every day I have left making sure she's happy. Taken care of. Loved. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. She's been through so much. The divorce nearly killed her. I can't watch her get hurt again. I know, Thomas said gently. And I won't hurt her. Not on purpose. Not ever. Rachel stayed through Thanksgiving. It wasn't an easy week. She watched everything. The way Thomas touched my shoulder when he passed. The way Emma had started sitting next to me at dinner. The way Daniel asked my opinion on his college essays. The way Helen had started smiling more. The way all of us were slowly, carefully becoming something like a family. Thanksgiving morning, Helen and I cooked together. Sarah's recipes, which Helen had memorized. She always made too much food, Helen said, chopping celery. Said you can't have Thanksgiving without leftovers. Smart woman, I replied. Rachel watched us from the doorway. I could see her trying to understand. Trying to reconcile the mother she thought she knew with this version. The one who was learning to make her dead predecessor's stuffing recipe. Thomas set the table with dishes that had been Sarah's grandmother's. Emma folded napkins the way her mother had taught her. Daniel put on music, something soft and jazzy that filled the house with warmth. When we finally sat down, all of us together, Thomas asked if he could say something. 2 years ago, he began, his voice rough. I didn't think we'd ever sit at this table again. Not like this. Not as a family. When Sarah died, something died in all of us. We've been existing. Going through motions. Keeping her memory alive, but forgetting to keep ourselves alive too. Emma wiped her eyes. Daniel stared at his plate. But then I met Margaret. And she reminded me that living isn't betraying the dead. That loving again isn't forgetting. That we're allowed to be happy. Even when we're sad. Even when we miss someone so much it feels like we can't breathe. He looked at me. You saved us, Margaret. Not with money. Not with things. Just by being here. By being patient. By loving us even when we didn't know how to love you back yet. Helen spoke up, her voice shaking. Sarah would have liked you. She would have. She would have been glad her family found you. I couldn't speak. I just reached across the table and took Helen's hand. She squeezed back. Hard. Rachel was crying. Full tears running down her face. After dinner, she and I walked in the garden. The herb garden Helen and I had planted was small but growing. Little green shoots that would be basil and thyme come spring. I'm sorry, Mom, Rachel said. I judged you. I don't know what I thought. That you were being naive. That you were rushing into something. That you were going to get hurt. I might get hurt, I said honestly. Love always carries that risk. But Rachel, being alone was hurting me too. Just in a different way. You seem happy. Really happy. I am. And he really loves you. I can see it. The way he looks at you. Dad never looked at you like that. The truth of that sat between us. My first marriage had been comfortable. Stable. But not alive. Not like this. I'm sorry I didn't come to the wedding, Rachel whispered. You're here now. That's what matters. December came with snow and silence. Emma had started opening up to me. Small things. She'd show me her homework. Ask my opinion on college applications. Tell me about a boy at school who made her laugh. Daniel called me Margaret, but with warmth now. Like it was my name, not a title I hadn't earned yet. Helen had moved most of her things out of the main house and into the guest house. Not running away. Just making space. Giving us room to become. Thomas no longer wore Sarah's ring around his neck. He'd given it to Emma, told her to save it for when she was older. To remember her mother, but not to be weighed down by her. One evening, I found a letter on the kitchen table. It was addressed to me in Thomas's handwriting. Dear Margaret, I don't have the words to tell you what you've done for us. How you've taken a broken family and shown us we could heal without losing what we'd lost. That we could love you without betraying Sarah's memory. You could have demanded changes. New furniture. New walls painted. A fresh start that erased her. Most women would have. I wouldn't have blamed you. But you didn't. You moved into her house, slept in her bed, cooked in her kitchen, and somehow made it yours without taking it from her. I don't know how you did that. Maybe because you're not trying to replace her. You're just trying to be you. And you, Margaret, are enough. More than enough. I was broke when you married me. Not in money, though there wasn't much of that either. Broken spirit. Broken hope. Broken the belief that life could be good again. You fixed what was broken. Not with grand gestures. Just with your presence. Your patience. Your grace. I love you. Not because you saved me. But because you showed me I was worth saving. Thomas. I sat at that table and cried. Big, quiet tears that came from somewhere deep. Emma found me there. Margaret? You okay? I showed her the letter. She read it slowly. Then she sat down next to me. I was so mad when you moved in, she admitted. I thought you were trying to be my mom. Trying to make me forget her. I would never. I know that now. Emma took my hand. You're not trying to be my mom. You're just trying to be, I don't know, you. And that's better, I think. Because I already had a mom. But I didn't have you. You have me now, I said softly. I know. And I'm glad. We sat together in the quiet kitchen, holding hands, and I thought about all the different kinds of love there are in the world. Mother love. Wife love. Daughter love. The love of people who choose each other not because they have to but because they want to. That's the love that lasts. In January, Thomas asked me to come to his office. I didn't even know he had an office. We drove to a building downtown. Nice but not flashy. He led me to the 3rd floor, to a suite with his name on the door. Bennett Consulting Services. Inside, a receptionist greeted him warmly. Good morning, Mr. Bennett. And you must be Mrs. Bennett. We've been waiting to meet you. I looked at Thomas. What is this? What I should have shown you a long time ago, he said quietly. He led me through the office. Introduced me to employees. 12 of them. All of whom seemed to genuinely respect him. His business partner, Marcus, pumped my hand enthusiastically. Finally, Thomas has been hiding you from us. We were starting to think you were imaginary. In Thomas's office, I sat in a leather chair that probably cost more than my car. I built this company with Sarah, Thomas explained. We started it in our 20s. It grew slowly. By the time she got sick, it was doing well. Really well. But I stepped back to care for her. Marcus took over day-to-day operations. I kept my ownership, but I couldn't be here. Couldn't focus. Couldn't do anything but watch her slip away. His voice broke. After she died, I still couldn't come back. Not really. I'd come in once a week, sign papers, but my heart wasn't in it. Marcus held it together. Kept it running. But the company suffered. We lost clients. Money got tight. So you worked as a janitor. And drove for a delivery service on weekends. And did odd jobs. Whatever I could to keep the house, keep the kids stable, keep living. He looked at me. But about 6 months ago, Marcus told me I had to decide. Either come back and actually run the company, or sell my half to him. I couldn't keep letting him do all the work while I collected a paycheck. What did you do? I started coming back. Slowly. An hour a day. Then 2. Then mornings. I kept the janitorial job because I needed the money, and I'd given my word I'd stay for a year. But I started rebuilding this place. Started caring again. Because of me? He smiled. Sad but real. Because of you. You showed up in my life and reminded me that I was allowed to want things. To build things. To have a future instead of just surviving the present. I looked around the office. At the diplomas on the wall. The photos of projects they'd completed. The evidence of a life Thomas had almost forgotten he had. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Because I wanted you to love the man I am now. Not the man I used to be. Not the man I might become. Just me. Broken, tired, working 3 jobs, barely holding on me. I stood up and kissed him. Right there in his office with his employees probably watching through the glass door. I do love that man, I whispered. And this man. And whoever you become tomorrow. All of you. February brought my daughter Rachel back into focus in a way I didn't expect. She called on a Tuesday evening, her voice strange. Tight. Mom, can I come visit? Just me. David can watch the kids. Of course, honey. What's wrong? Nothing. Everything. I don't know. I just need to talk to you. She arrived 2 days later. Thinner than before. Darker circles under her eyes. We sat in Sarah's garden, my garden now too, though I still thought of it as hers, and I waited. David and I are having problems, Rachel finally said. Bad ones. He wants to take a job in Boston. I don't want to leave Seattle. The kids are settled. I have work. My life is there. What does he say? That I'm being selfish. That it's a great opportunity. That I need to support his career the way he supported mine. She laughed bitterly. Except he didn't really support mine. I work part-time from home. It's not the same. I took her hand. What do you want? I want him to see me. To consider what I want. To treat our marriage like a partnership instead of a dictatorship. Tears spilled over. I want what you and Thomas have. We're not perfect, Rachel. No, but you respect each other. I watched him ask your opinion about everything. What to cook for dinner. Whether to replace the fence. What color to paint the guest room. He values your thoughts. Your feelings. She wiped her face. David decided about Boston without even telling me he was applying. He just came home and said, "We're moving." Like I'm supposed to just follow. What are you going to do? I don't know. That's why I'm here. Because you married someone in 3 months and moved into a house full of his dead wife's things and somehow made it work. How did you do that? How did you know Thomas would respect you? I thought carefully. I didn't know. Not completely. But I paid attention to how he treated other people. His kids. His mother-in-law. The people he worked with. He was kind. Thoughtful. He listened more than he talked. Those were the signs I watched for. David used to be like that, Rachel said softly. When did he change? Maybe he didn't change. Maybe you're just seeing him clearly now. We talked for hours. About marriage. About compromise. About knowing when to stay and when to go. About the difference between supporting someone and losing yourself. Thomas made dinner that night. Rachel watched him move around the kitchen, asking Emma about her day, asking Daniel about a test, asking me if I needed anything. Always asking. Always considering. David never asks, Rachel said quietly just to me. He tells. That's not a marriage, I said. That's a hostage situation. She laughed. A real one this time. Spring came slowly. The herb garden burst into life. Emma had taken to sitting out there with her homework, her mother's daughter in ways that made Helen cry happy tears. Daniel brought a girl home to meet us. Her name was Sophie, and she was sweet and smart and clearly crazy about him. Thomas's business was thriving again. He'd cut back to just one job, running the company. The The janitorial position he'd filled with honor, trained his replacement himself, left with recommendations and gratitude. Helen had started dating a man from her church, a widower himself. They understood each other's grief without needing to explain it. And Rachel had filed for separation. She called to tell me, her voice steady in a way it hadn't been in years. I asked him to go to counseling. He said no. Said there was nothing wrong with him, the problem was me. So I'm done. Are you okay? I'm scared. But I'm also relieved. Is that terrible? No, honey. That's honest. I'm taking a lease on an apartment. The kids and I are staying in Seattle. David can go to Boston if he wants. Pride swelled in my chest. Good for you. I learned it from watching you, you know. Watching you walk into that house and not shrink yourself to fit someone else's expectations. Watching you be yourself completely, without apology. That's what I want. For me. For my kids. To show them what strength looks like. After we hung up, Thomas found me crying on the porch. Rachel, he asked gently. She's going to be okay, I said. Better than okay. She's choosing herself. Thomas sat beside me. The evening air was soft, carrying the scent of the herbs we'd planted. Sarah's herbs. Mine now too. You gave her that, he said. The courage to choose. I just showed her it was possible. She did the rest. He kissed my temple. That's what love does. It shows us what's possible. In April, Emma came to me with a box. I found this in Mom's studio, she said. Her hands were shaking slightly. In the back of her closet. I think you should see it. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. Written in Sarah's handwriting, each one addressed to someone different. To Thomas. To Emma. To Daniel. To Helen. And one addressed simply. To whoever he loves next. I haven't read it, Emma whispered. None of them except mine. But I think Mom meant for you to have that one. My hands trembled as I opened it. The paper was cream-colored, expensive. The handwriting was elegant, flowing. Written by someone who knew she was running out of time. To the woman who will love my family. I don't know who you are. I don't know when you'll come into their lives. But if you're reading this, it means Thomas found the courage to love again. That makes me happier than you can know. I won't lie and say it doesn't hurt to think of someone else in my place. Taking care of my children. Sleeping next to my husband. Living in the home we built together. It hurts terribly. But I'm writing this because I need you to know some things. First, thank you. Thank you for loving them when I can't anymore. For being there when I'm not. For filling the empty spaces I'm going to leave behind. Second, don't try to be me. Please. They don't need another me. They need you. Whoever you are. Whatever you bring. Your laugh, your quirks, your way of seeing the world. Give them that. It's enough. You're enough. Third, know that Emma holds her grief inside. She'll seem fine when she's breaking. Watch for the quiet moments. That's when she'll need you most. Daniel will try to be the man of the house. Don't let him. Let him be young. Let him make mistakes. Let him be a kid for as long as he can. Thomas, my Thomas. He'll bury himself in work and obligation. He'll forget to eat. Forget to rest. Forget that he matters too. Remind him. Please. Remind him that his life has value beyond what he can do for everyone else. And Helen. Oh, Helen. She's going to be so angry. At God. At me. At you probably. Be patient with her. She's not angry at you. She's angry at death. At loss. At a world that took her child. She'll come around. Just give her time. I hope you're kind. I hope you're patient. I hope you have a good laugh because this family needs laughter. We've forgotten how. I hope Thomas makes you happy. He's a good man. The best man. He deserves someone who sees that. Who values him. Who loves him not for what he can provide, but for who he is. Most of all, I hope you know you're not replacing me. You're completing what I started. This family, this home, this life, it needs someone to keep it growing. I planted the seeds, but I won't be here to see them bloom. That's your job now. Help them bloom. Please. With gratitude and hope. Sarah. I read it 3 times. Then I held it to my chest and wept. Emma sat with me, her head on my shoulder. She knew, Emma whispered. Somehow she knew we'd need someone. That we couldn't do this alone. She loved you all so much. She would have loved you too. I know she would have. Thomas found us like that. Read the letter over my shoulder. His body went very still. She wrote it the week before she died, he said, his voice breaking. Made me promise to hide these letters. Made me promise not to read them until I was ready to live again. He knelt in front of me, took my hands in his. You're exactly who she described. Kind. Patient. Someone who makes us laugh again. Someone who sees me. Thomas. I loved her, Margaret. I'll always love her. But I love you too. So much. And somehow I think she knew that was possible. That loving you wouldn't diminish what I felt for her. That my heart was big enough for both. We held each other in that room where Sarah used to paint. Where she'd written letters to a future she'd never see. Where she'd given us her blessing without ever knowing who I'd be. In May we had a dinner party. Helen's idea, surprisingly. She wanted to gather everyone who mattered. To celebrate not just what we'd been, but what we'd become. Rachel came with the kids. Her divorce was almost final. She looked lighter somehow. Freer. Daniel brought Sophie. They held hands under the table, young and hopeful. Emma had invited a friend. A boy named Marcus who looked at her like she hung the moon. Helen came with her gentleman friend, Robert. They sat together, comfortable and easy. And Thomas and I sat at the head of the table, exactly 1 year after our small, doubted wedding. Before we ate, Thomas stood up, cleared his throat. A year ago, I married a woman most people thought was making a mistake. My kids weren't sure. My mother-in-law definitely wasn't sure. Even Rachel thought her mother had lost her mind. Nervous laughter around the table. But Margaret knew something we didn't. She knew that love isn't about perfection. It's not about having all the answers or knowing how things will work out. It's about showing up, being present, choosing each other every single day. He looked at me. This year hasn't been easy. We've had hard conversations, sad moments, times when we didn't know how to move forward. But we did it together. All of us. Emma spoke up, surprising everyone. I want to say something too. She stood, her face pink but determined. When Margaret moved in, I hated it. I thought she was trying to replace Mom, trying to make us forget. But she never did that. She just loved us. Quietly, without demanding anything back. She let us grieve and heal on our own time. Her voice shook. Mom left us letters. Did you know that? She left me one telling me it was okay to love again. Okay to let someone new in. She said that loving Margaret wouldn't mean I loved her any less. Tears streamed down Emma's face. And she was right. I love my mom. I'll always love my mom. But I love Margaret too. For being patient with me. For teaching me that family isn't just blood. It's choice. And I choose her. I couldn't see through my tears. Couldn't speak. Daniel stood next. Same. Margaret's pretty cool. For a stepmom. He grinned. But seriously, Dad looks happy again. We all do. And I think that's what Mom would have wanted most. Helen stood last. This tiny woman who'd carried so much grief for so long. I was wrong about you, Margaret, she said clearly. I thought you were trying to erase my daughter. But you did the opposite. You honored her. You planted her garden. You listened to our stories about her. You let us love her while we learned to love you. She wiped her eyes. Sarah chose well when she chose Thomas. And Thomas chose well when he chose you. I'm glad you're part of this family. The dinner lasted hours. We talked and laughed and cried and remembered. We told Sarah stories and made new memories. We celebrated who we'd been and who we were becoming. Rachel pulled me aside as people were leaving. You did it, Mom. You built a family from broken pieces. We all did it, I corrected. Together. That night, as we cleaned up, Thomas said, There's something else I need to tell you. About money. My stomach tightened. Okay. We sat at the kitchen table, just us. The house quiet around us. The business is doing really well. Better than before Sarah got sick. Marcus and I restructured some things. Took on new clients. We're stable again. More than stable. That's wonderful. Margaret, we're not rich. But we're comfortable. Very comfortable. The medical debt is paid off. The house is secure. There's money for the kids' college. Savings. Retirement. He took my hands. You married me thinking I was broke. And I let you think that because I needed to know you loved me. Not my potential. Not my house or my business. Just me. I understand. But now I need you to know the truth. Because we're partners. And partners don't keep secrets about finances. So here it is, all of it. He showed me bank statements. Investment accounts. The business's financial reports. Everything. It was a lot of money. Not mansion and yacht money. But solid, secure, comfortable money. Does this change things for you? I asked quietly. Knowing that I know. It makes me feel like we're finally on equal ground. No secrets. No omissions. Just truth. I looked at this man. This good, complicated, honest man who'd worked 3 jobs to keep his children's home. Who'd let his business nearly fail while he grieved. Who'd been so afraid of being loved for the wrong reasons that he'd hidden who he was. The only thing that would change things, I said, is if you stopped being you. If you stopped asking me how my day was. If you stopped caring about what I think. If you stopped treating Emma and Daniel like they matter more than money. I squeezed his hands. You could be a janitor or a CEO. Broke or comfortable. None of that changes why I love you. I love you because when I talk, you listen. When I'm sad, you notice. When I'm happy, you're happy. That's what matters. That's everything. He pulled me close. How did I get so lucky twice in one life? Not luck, I whispered. Choice. Sarah chose you. I chose you. You chose to let us. Summer came. Rachel moved into her new apartment. The kids helped her paint. Thomas and Daniel moved furniture. She was starting over at 42. Scared but determined. It's strange, she told me, unpacking boxes in her kitchen. Being on my own after 20 years. I don't even know who I am without David. You're about to find out, I said. And it's going to be amazing. She got a promotion at work. Started running in the mornings. Joined a book club. Made friends who were hers, not couple friends she and David had shared. She called me one evening, excited. Mom, I met someone. Already? No, not like that. A friend. A woman at work. She's divorced too. We got coffee and talked for 3 hours. Just talked. About life and kids and starting over. It felt good. To have someone who understands. I'm so proud of you, I said honestly. I learned from the best. You started over at 54. I figure I can do it at 42. Her kids were adjusting. David had moved to Boston, saw them once a month. It wasn't ideal. But they were okay. Better than okay. They see me being strong, Rachel said. They see me choosing myself. They see that marriage should be a partnership, not a prison. That's worth more than staying together for the wrong reasons. In August, Emma got her college acceptance letters. She'd gotten into 7 schools. Good schools. Including the one Sarah had attended, the one Helen had been pushing for. Emma came to me one evening, letters spread on the table. I don't know what to do, she said. Grandma wants me to go to Mom's school. Dad says he'll support whatever I choose. Daniel says follow my gut. But I don't know what my gut says. What do you want? I asked. That's the problem. I wanted to go to Mom's school. I did. But now. She bit her lip. Now I think I want to go somewhere different. Make my own path. But I feel guilty. Why guilty? Because it feels like I'm rejecting Mom. Like I'm saying her choices weren't good enough. I sat beside her. Emma, your mother went to that school because it was right for her. That doesn't mean it's right for you. Honoring her doesn't mean copying her. It means living fully. Becoming completely yourself. But Grandma loves you. And she'll understand. Even if it hurts at first. Emma chose a different school. A smaller one closer to home with a strong art program. When she told Helen, there was a moment of silence. Then Helen hugged her. Hard. Your mother would be so proud, Helen whispered. Not because of which school, but because you chose what was right for you. That takes courage. Emma collapsed in tears. Relief and grief all mixed together. That night, Thomas held me close. You did that. You gave her permission to be herself. She always had permission. She just needed to believe it. Our first anniversary came in October. Thomas wanted to do something special, but I didn't want a fancy dinner or expensive gifts. I wanted something else. Let's renew our vows, I said. Here. In the garden. With everyone who matters. So we did. Not a big ceremony. Just us, the kids, Helen, Rachel and her children, Marcus and Sophie, Robert and his grown children. Thomas had hired someone to set up chairs among the herbs and flowers. Sarah's garden. Our garden. Emma read a poem her mother had written. About growth and seasons and the way love changes but never dies. Daniel walked me down the aisle. This young man who'd been so uncertain of me a year ago. Thank you, he whispered as we walked. For giving us our dad back. Thomas waited for me at the end of the short aisle. Not in a tux this time. Just a simple suit. Eyes red but smiling. The officiant was brief. Asked us to share our promises. Thomas went first. Margaret, a year ago I asked you to marry me. I was honest about my circumstances, but not about my heart. So today I want to tell you the whole truth. He took a shaky breath. I was broken when I met you. Not financially, though that was true too, but spiritually. Emotionally. I'd forgotten how to hope. How to want. How to live. You reminded me. Not by fixing me, but by loving me exactly as I was. His voice cracked. You walked into a house full of ghosts, and you didn't try to exorcise them. You just made room. For memory and for present. For grief and for joy. You taught my children that love multiplies. You taught me that my heart was bigger than I knew. He wiped his eyes. I promised to spend every day earning your trust, your love, your partnership. I promised to listen more than I speak, to consider your needs as important as my own, to never let you feel invisible or unheard, to love you loudly, even when the world is quiet. I could barely see him through my tears. My turn. Thomas, when I married you, people said I was foolish, too fast, too reckless, settling. But I knew something they didn't. I knew that love isn't about perfect circumstances. It's about perfect timing. And you came into my life exactly when I needed to remember that I was brave. I squeezed his hands. You let me into your life when it would have been easier to stay closed. You let me love your children without demanding they love me back. You honored your past without letting it destroy your future. That takes incredible strength. I promised to never take your trust for granted, to remember that this family was built on loss and courage and hope, to honor Sarah's memory by living fully, to love Emma and Daniel not as replacements for children I didn't have, but as the gifts they are, and to love you every day with everything I am. We kissed, and our family, this beautiful blended chosen family, cheered. Winter came again, our second winter together. Emma was thriving at college. She called every Sunday, told us about her classes, her friends, her life. Daniel and Sophie got engaged. Young, yes, but certain. Rachel was dating someone new, taking it slow, learning to trust again. Helen spent Christmas with us, but had her own life now. Her own love, her own future. And Thomas and I settled into the quiet rhythm of a life well lived. Mornings with coffee and the newspaper. Evenings with dinner and soft music. Weekends working in the garden planning for spring. One evening in January, 2 years after we'd first met, Thomas found me in Sarah's studio. I'd started using it. Gently. Respectfully. My pottery sat on shelves next to her paintings. I've been thinking, he said, about this house. My heart clenched. Okay. It's time to make some changes. Small ones. The bedroom, we should get new furniture. Our furniture. And the living room could use updating. Sarah chose those things 20 years ago. They're beautiful, but they're not us. Are you sure? I'm sure. This is our home now. Hers will always be here, in the bones, in the garden, in the memories, but the decoration? That can be ours. So we did. Slowly. Carefully. We chose a new bed. New curtains. Repainted the living room a soft gray instead of the cream Sarah had loved. Emma came home for spring break and smiled when she saw it. It looks good. Like you guys. Helen visited and nodded approvingly. Sarah would like it. She always said homes should grow with the people in them. In March, something unexpected happened. I got a call from my lawyer. My ex-husband had died suddenly. Heart attack. He'd left me something in his will. A letter. And money. A surprising amount of money. The letter was short. Apologetic. He'd treated me poorly in our marriage. Taken me for granted. Realized too late what he'd lost. The money was his way of saying sorry. I showed Thomas. What do you want to do with it? He asked. I don't know. It feels strange. Taking money from a man who didn't value me when he had me. We talked for hours. Finally, I decided. Half went to Rachel. To help her build her new life. To show her she was valued. The other half I used to start a foundation. For women starting over after 50. After divorce. After loss. After life knocked them down. We called it Sarah's Garden. Because Sarah had shown me you could plant beauty even when you knew you wouldn't see it bloom. And I wanted to help other women plant their own gardens. Find their own second chances. Thomas cried when I told him. She would have loved that. The name. The purpose. All of it. The foundation started small. But it grew. We helped women with job training. Housing deposits. Legal fees. Therapy. Whatever they needed to start fresh. Rachel became involved. Used her own experience to counsel other women. Emma volunteered during summer break. Even Helen joined in, teaching gardening classes to help women find peace in growing things. What started as unexpected money became something beautiful. Something lasting. 2 years became 3. Then 4. Emma graduated college with honors. Got a job at an art gallery. Brought home a young man who looked at her the way Thomas looked at me. Daniel and Sophie got married. Small ceremony in our garden, of course. They were expecting a baby. Our first grandchild. Rachel had remarried. A kind man who actually listened. Who treated her like a partner. We all liked him. Helen was happy. Truly happy. Still missed Sarah, would always miss Sarah, but had built a life that included joy again. And Thomas and I grew old together. Slowly. Quietly. Beautifully. His hair went completely gray. Mine stayed the same, since it had been gray when we met. Our bodies slowed down. Mornings took longer. Stairs became harder. But our love, that grew stronger. Every morning, he kissed my forehead before we got out of bed. Every evening, we walked through the garden together, talking about our day. We traveled a little. Not extensively, Thomas still worked, though less now, but enough. We saw Rachel's new life in Seattle. Visited Emma at her gallery opening. Held Daniel's baby girl, Rose, named after Sarah's favorite flower. We had Sunday dinners where 3 generations gathered. Where Sarah's memory sat comfortable among us, not a ghost but a presence. Honored. Loved. But not the center of everything anymore. We'd built something new on the foundation she'd left. Something strong and good and lasting. On our 5th anniversary, I did something I'd been thinking about for years. I wrote a letter to Sarah. Dear Sarah, I never knew you, but I know you anyway. I see you in Emma's laugh, in Daniel's kindness, in the way Thomas touches my face when he thinks I'm not paying attention, in every corner of this house, every bloom in this garden. Thank you for loving them so well that they knew how to love again. Thank you for the letter you left, for giving me permission I didn't know I needed, for understanding that love doesn't divide, it multiplies. I've tried to honor what you built, to respect the foundation you laid, but I've also added my own touches. My pottery in your studio, my recipes in your kitchen, my laughter in your halls. I hope that's okay. Your children call me Margaret. Not Mom. That name is yours. Forever yours. But they love me anyway. In their own way. And I love them fiercely. Protectively. Completely. Thomas still misses you. I can see it sometimes in quiet moments. A flicker of pain crosses his face. But then he looks at me and smiles. And I know he's okay. We're okay. You planted a garden you never saw bloom. But Sarah, it's blooming now. In ways you couldn't have imagined. Emma's art. Daniel's daughter. Rachel's new start. Helen's second chance at love. All of it growing from seeds you planted. I'm just the gardener who came after. Watering what you started. Adding my own seeds. Watching it all grow together. Thank you for this family. This home. This life. And thank you for Thomas. For loving him so well that he knew how to love me too. With gratitude and respect. Margaret. I buried the letter in the garden. Under the rose bush Sarah had planted when Emma was born. Let the earth hold my words the way it held her memory. Thomas found me there. What are you doing? He asked gently. Saying thank you. He understood without explanation. Sat beside me in the dirt. Held my hand. She'd like you, he said. Not for the first time. You're both strong. Both kind. Both see the best in people. I wish I could have known her. In a way, you do. She's in everything good about this family. And you've added your own goodness to it. Together, you made us whole. We sat in the garden as the sun set. Married 5 years. Together 6. And every day had been a choice. To love. To stay. To build. Not always easy. But always worth it. I'm 64 now. Thomas is 69. We're sitting on our porch watching Emma's son. Yes, Emma had a baby too. Chase butterflies in the garden. Daniel's daughter Rose is teaching him the names of flowers. This house, this beautiful house that was Sarah's dream, is now full of life again. Grandchildren's laughter. Weekend visits. Holiday gatherings that require 3 tables. People still ask me sometimes, weren't you scared? Marrying someone you barely knew? Moving into his dead wife's house? And I tell them the truth. Yes, I was terrified, but I was more scared of staying safe. Of being so careful with my heart that I forgot to use it. Thomas wasn't broke when I married him. Not in money, but he was broke in all the ways that mattered. In hope. In joy. In belief that life could be good again. And I was broke too. In different ways. In confidence. In trust. In the certainty that I was enough. We fixed each other. Not by trying to fix each other. But by loving each other exactly as we were. Broken pieces and all. The house he took me home to wasn't just a house. It was a testament to love. To the family Sarah built. To the life Thomas fought to keep. To the memories that deserved to be honored. And now it's our testament too. To second chances. To chosen family. To the courage it takes to love again after loss. I married a broke widower at 54. Everyone said I was making a mistake. They were wrong. It was the best decision I ever made. Not because he had money, though we're comfortable now. Not because he had a beautiful house, though it's lovely. But because he had a beautiful heart. And he shared it with me. Thomas reaches over and takes my hand. His skin is wrinkled now. Spotted with age. but his touch still makes me feel seen, valued, loved. What are you thinking about? He asks. How lucky we are. Lucky. He smiles. I'd call it blessed. What's the difference? Lucky is chance. Blessed is choice. We chose each other. Every day. That's not luck. That's grace. I lean into him. This man who was brave enough to love again. Who made room in his life for me without erasing who came before. Who showed his children that hearts can hold more than we think they can. The sun is setting over Sarah's garden. Our garden. Where old growth and new growth intertwine. Where memories and present moments exist together. Where nothing is forgotten, but nothing is frozen either. It's just life. Beautiful, complicated, messy, wonderful life. And I wouldn't change a single moment. Not the scared beginning. Not the awkward middle. Not the uncertain days when we weren't sure how to be a family. Because all of it led to this. To grandchildren in the garden. To a house full of love. To growing old with a man who still kisses my forehead every morning. To being part of a family that chose me as much as I chose them. People say you can't build a life on someone else's foundation. But we did. We took what Sarah built. Honored it. Respected it. And added our own rooms. Our own garden. Our own memories. We didn't erase her. We expanded around her. And in doing so, we created something neither of us could have built alone. A family. A home. A love that's big enough for everyone. Past and present. Loss and hope. Memory and future. All of it together. All of it beautiful. All of it ours. If you've ever felt it was too late for love, too late to start over, too late to choose happiness, remember this story. Remember Margaret and Thomas. Remember that broke doesn't mean broken. That second chances are real. That love multiplies instead of divides. It's never too late to come home. The end. Have you found love after loss? Have you been part of a blended family? Have you had a second chance at happiness? Share your story with us. Your words might give someone else the courage to try again.